G'day there guys, welcome back to another bloody festive episode of r/AmiTheA. Today with updates, let's go. Sit back, relax, enjoy the episode, and I hope you have a bloody good time. Thank you. Our first post is by user Throwaway29105, titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my sister irresponsible and no longer letting her visit over a plant? On mobile, so sorry for formatting. My friend told me about this sub, so I decided to ask here. Throw away so my family doesn't find it. Also, long sorry, that's what he said. Me, 26 female, and my husband, 27 male, have a daughter, 6 female, who we have recently been trying to teach more responsibility to. We decided we didn't want to get a pet, even a goldfish, because it was unfair if it died, and after some thinking, we brought up the idea to my daughter of growing her own plants. She was thrilled with the idea, so the next day we took her to get some seeds. She chose sweet pea seeds and took to caring for her plant better than we expected. It grew really quickly and was thriving quite well considering the tools she had, and soon she was showing a strong interest in gardening. We started calling her Sweet Pea, which is important later, because of her project, and every day she would tell us the news with her new plants. Recently, I got news that my grandmother had passed away, and we had to fly out to her funeral. My sister, 22 female, never talked to her and didn't want to attend the funeral, so I decided to ask her to look after my daughter's plants while we were out for the week. She agreed, and we brought the plant over. My daughter kissed it goodbye and asked her to please take good care of it. My sister said she would and everything was fine, until we got back. When I went to get the plant, my sister said, "Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that," and laughed. She brought the pot out and the stem was somehow snapped and it was wilted. My daughter ran crying to the car and I yelled at her for forgetting it and being irresponsible. She said I could just buy her another one, but I said that wasn't the point and left. She hasn't apologized since. I've since been no contact with her and refused to let her visit. She's done other stuff like this in the past because she likes to act as if she's 18, and I've listened to my parents when they told me to let it go. But this time she really hurt my daughter. My parents are now saying it's just a plant and I'm being ridiculous for holding a grudge. My daughter has been extremely sad since the incident and has lost interest in gardening, and has even asked us to stop calling her Sweet Pea, which breaks my heart. So Reddit, I ask you, am I the a-hole? I hate to see my daughter like this, but I'm not sure if I'm overreacting. Personally, I don't think you're the a-hole in this situation, and I don't think you're overreacting for this. I don't think the sister knew the importance of this plant to your daughter, as a lot of 22-year-olds probably wouldn't care, in all honesty. I can see the line of thinking, you know, oh, it's just a plant, there's plenty of them out there. It's not like I've killed a dog, or it's not like I've killed a cat. Why do you guys care so much? I don't agree with that line of thinking, but that's obviously where this is coming from, and I can see why she would think that she's not an asshole for doing this, because what does it matter? You can just get another plant, dude. It's just a plant, who cares? But to this 6-year-old, and to your family, that's a huge deal. It's like equivalent to killing a pet. They genuinely viewed that plant as their own family. You've just killed a family's family member, and I think that's unacceptable in this situation. All of your feelings are valid in this situation. That plant held such high value for all of you guys, and I'm sorry for its loss. I think calling her irresponsible and no longer letting her visit is probably the least you can do in this situation, and I would say that she got off easy. So yeah, not the a-hole. Mace Nutmeg says, as an avid gardener, I think you should still grow plants with your daughter. The reality of gardening is that plants die constantly. It's basically what they do, but they are still a lot of fun. Yes, I get into the gardening so the plants can die. Yes! It's kind of sadistic if you frame it like that, isn't it? Things that can help are 1. Growing multiple plants so that if one dies, you still have to water the others. 2. Take this opportunity to explain to your daughter that even when things go wrong, she can pick up and try again. One plant death is not a reason to give up on something that she loves. Acknowledge that she's upset about her first plant, but that there are many more great plants in her future. 3. Grow edible plants. Microgreens are basically tiny lettuce. They're ready to harvest in 2 to 4 weeks and are incredibly nutritious. It's fun, it's easy, and your daughter can learn to handle plant death. And lastly, get a pothos plant. I don't know how to say that word, pothos, I don't know. They're basically unkillable. You can leave it at home alone during your 4-week vacation, no problem. I'll say not the a-hole as a general judgment, but I think you can pull this back to being a more positive experience for your daughter. She will take cues from you on how to handle this emotionally. Right now, you're really upset at your sister, so your daughter is very upset about the plant. Taking this as an opportunity to get some more plants could really turn things around. And Kalamata Olive replies, "This is a brilliant idea. I like gardening. I suck at it, but I keep trying. Nothing is better than cutting flowers from your garden or picking fresh veggies to eat. Hopefully, Sweet Pea comes around and finds joy again in her plants." And also OP replies, "This sounds like a great idea. I feel heartbroken and hurt seeing her like this, so I'll try and have a conversation with her about plant life cycles and maybe take her back to the store to pick up some nice plant pots, gardening tools and seeds and all. Hopefully that will cheer up her mood a bit." I Have Good Ideas says, "Not the a-hole. She agreed to take the plant in, okay? She could have said no, in which case you could have given it to a friend or someone else, but she specifically agreed to take it in. That's like me saying that I'd clean someone's pool, then not cleaning it when they get back, and they have all the rights to get mad at me because at the end of the day, I agreed to it." I agree with you, and considering how attached your daughter was to it, I feel bad for her. Also, how hard is it to take care of a plant? Your 6-year-old daughter managed to take care of it, and this 22-year-old woman couldn't take care for what I assume are for a few days or a week or 2. I'd say you had all the rights to call her what you did. And Say Insanity 45 says, "Not the a-hole. Your poor daughter. She must have been crushed. She clearly loved that plant and trusted your sister to take care of it. It wasn't just a plant to your daughter. She nurtured it and was probably very proud of herself. I'd be pissed too if I were you." And now onto that story's update. Some of you have been asking for an update, and since my last post, some good and some bad things have happened that I thought I should write about. After I had some time to cool off from the events at my sister's and read all the comments, I realized I was overreacting a little bit. I understand now that it was my fault to let my sister handle something that was so important to my daughter, and so after she had a bit of time to grieve her plant, I wasn't going to rush her feelings. We had a conversation of plant life cycles. I talked to her about how plants, even in the most well-cared-for circumstances, can pass away, and I told her how proud I was that she took care of her plant as well as she did. After a bit of pep talk, she seemed ready to have a go at it again, and so we took her to the garden shop again, where she picked out her own tools, soil, pots, gloves, and lots of different plant seeds. We also got her some vegetable and fruit seeds like some of you suggested, so that she could eat what she's grown, which she's really excited for. As for my sister, after a week of posting, I went over to try and explain why the plant meant so much to my daughter and how it couldn't be so easily replaced. I'm sad to say that she once again lectured me on how it was just a plant and that they die all the time. I also got a text from my parents about how they thought I was mature enough to just let go of something so stupid. I realized that they aren't going to change their minds on the subject and that I should just move on. So I've decided to drop the topic with them, but I have decided never to let my sister handle anything of value, especially if it's my daughter's. I have since apologized to my daughter about the sweet pea, and we hugged it out. We also took the suggestion to use the old sweet pea as compost for a new one, so that the old plant is still with us. Overall, it's a happy ending. My daughter is feeling better than ever, has given names to all her plants, she has 12 now and 2 succulents, takes care of them just as well as the old sweet pea, and has even gone back to requesting we call her sweet pea again, which I almost cried tears of joy when she asked that. Thank you to all the suggestions given and the people who offered to send seeds through to my daughter, as well to the people who helped me realize my mistakes. I'm also glad to say that we have found a potential plant sitter in the future. My husband's co-worker is very keen on plants and has a very green thumb, just like my daughter. Also, at this rate, we're considering setting up an indoor sanctuary for the plants when it gets too cold in winter to bring them outside. So glad things turned out well in the end. Everyone's happy, the plants have already started sprouting, and life has never been better. That was a nice ending. I really liked that one, and I'm glad that, OP resolved the situation where they could. It's unfortunate that the family can't be trusted with valuables, but sometimes that's what we have to do to get a, humble resolution here. Overall, I'd say it's a win, and it's a perfectly natural way to teach the daughter about the life and death cycle of plants, as unfortunate as it was to be the sister doing that to her. But, we move. I'm going to read out some comments now. Our first is by user Red1977, and it's their own story. So, when I was 11, my parents got a dog. She died when I was 27. I was very upset. I was telling a co-worker when another co-worker, who I wasn't talking to, pipes up and says, "What the fuck? It's just a dog." Oh my god. Obviously not the a-hole. Nothing is a just to anyone else, and one person's feelings over something do not invalidate the feelings of others. It's something called respect. As for the dog hater, he wasn't actually a co-worker as such, as he was an engineering consultant. Later on, he got the design work for a new treatment plant, and I got the pleasure of pointing out the dozens of absolutely stupid and idiotic things he tried to put in, and how most of them wouldn't even begin to work as intended. I was not nice and soft about it. Wow, that coworker can fuck right the fuck off. I've had a cat for around the same timeline. He is still alive and well. He's cuddling me under the covers right now, in fact, and may he live 10 years more, I'm hoping. But I can already feel how devastated I'll be when his time inevitably comes. I actually cried when I noticed that he's starting to show signs of his age. People who say it's just a pet have no idea just how loving and special pets are. Cody comments, "Jesus effing Christ, your sister sounds awful. I can maybe understand forgetting. That happens. We're all human. But to not be able to apologize and not accept why this is important is just terrible. Your parents are enablers, and no wonder she behaves that way. Good luck to you and your kids' botany future." All of this. How do people not get that it might just be a plant to them, but it was a hell of a lot more to a little girl they're supposed to love? I have a 2.5-year-old niece, and if I ever accidentally ruined something of hers that she loved, I would be beyond heartbroken. If she asked me to babysit a rock for her and take it on walks, I would do it. So that's where I'm going to leave that story and update. I'd love to know what you guys think about this one. What's your judgment? Is it even possible to get something like an everyone sucks here or you're the a-hole? Because if you think that's possible, you might just be living in crazy town, I'm sorry to tell ya. Have you had someone that's been looking after a pet of yours or a plant of yours or a rock of yours? And what happened? Did they do a good job of it, or did it go similar to this story? I'd love to know your experiences down in the comments. Anyway, our next post is by user Went to Zurich, titled, "Am I the a-hole for going to Switzerland without telling my girlfriend?" So I, 25, have a girlfriend, 23. She, most of the time, refuses to leave me alone and will not give me time to myself. Whenever I come from work, she'll always sit with me till dinner and won't let me play video games or watch TV in peace. She would insist on coming when I meet my friends, and I've requested her many times to give me some private time. So one day I told her that I was going for a business trip to Paris. We live in Nice. Actually, me and my friends had planned to go to Zurich and hang out at the house of a friend who lived there. I told my girlfriend to go to her parents' house, which was nearby, till I came back. We reached Zurich and enjoyed the first 3 days of our trip, till she found out that I was in Zurich through a friend who accidentally posted it on Instagram and forgot to hide it from her. Now she's mad at me, and when I returned, she made me sleep on the sofa and refuses to speak to me. Am I the a-hole? I think willingly lying to your girlfriend and then having everyone else come in on the lie and continue to pull the wool over her eyes was the wrong thing for you to do, buddy. If there was a genuine reason that you knew you were effing her over by going to Zurich with your mates, especially in, the current state of the world, and maybe she's scared about you catching some little diddly nasty thing, as well as the fact that she may be pissed that you're going on holiday without her, or doing things without her knowledge. Who knows, there could be so many things that are going on here besides just running away to Zurich. I can see why she's angry at you, and I think you deserve to sleep on the sofa and to have her refuse to speak to you. I think you deserve more in this situation. I think she could go harder. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. You lied to her, so she has the right to be upset. If she's as annoying as you claim, break up with her. I personally could not date a needy, codependent person either. Another one of those posts where I would love to hear the other side. You're the a-hole. If you can't stand her, then don't be with her. Lying is not an effective adult way of handling this situation. You're too old for this. I don't have any problem with her other than this. I mean, this is kind of a major deal though. If you're constantly annoyed with her to the point that you're lying to her so that you can leave the country for a couple of days, then you should not be in this relationship, dude. And Shapstick says, of course you're the a-hole. You lied to her. If she's clingy and codependent and you hate it, dump her. I'd be upset too if my boyfriend lied to my face about where he was going. You clearly don't respect her, so just end it. And OP replies, she wouldn't let me go alone anywhere. She would insist on hanging out with me. Then you have your answer. Dump her. There's a clear disconnect in what each of you wants from this relationship. She's clingy and you can't handle it, so let her go. And now to our update. OP says, I don't know if some of you had seen my previous post, but I wanted to get this off my chest. I told her that I was an immature ass, and I apologized to her. We attended a few sessions of therapy, and it has been working. If not fully, our relationship has improved. She's been giving the space I wanted, and I also tried making it out to her by taking her out to places that she loves going to, following COVID protocol. Overall, it has been a great improvement in our relationship, and I'd like to thank you guys for giving me some great advice. I'm still attending therapy along with her, and have been trying to be a better person to her. I've also promised to take her to Zurich for a holiday once the virus ends. That's all. The fact that you two could make this work through therapy is unexpected for this sub, but an amazing turn of events nonetheless. This is the type of update I like to see. Good on you for acknowledging your mistake and working to better yourself and your relationship. That's what a good partner does. And 2Kick Lad says, prime example of why you shouldn't always listen to those break up with them comments. Sam Hain 34 replies, yeah, there are a few on here that I think are true deal breakers, but this wasn't one of them. The mob tends to forget that we're getting a snapshot of the relationship, and one that isn't putting it in a favorable light. So happy for the update though. And PitRat3 says, sorry, but I didn't think you were the arsehole. I used to have a girlfriend just like that, and it was infuriating that she wouldn't leave me alone when I wanted to spend time with my friends. And Razy replies, He wasn't an asshole for wanting some space and privacy. He was an asshole for lying. She's an asshole for not compromising and considering his needs. So what do you guys think about that one? Do you agree with these comments? Do you disagree? And do you like that OP and the girlfriend were able to figure it out? I'm of the mind that, this is something that potentially could repeat again, and we could come to another crossroads in this relationship, but I'm glad that they're willing to go to therapy and fix it. I agree, it's not something you see all too often on these subs. A lot of the time people give in to that mob mentality, and they end up just breaking up, and it's kind of sad to see. I wish we had more stories of success like this. And I wonder if a lot of the posts that don't get updates do end up in success and we just don't hear about it. And our last story for today is by user ApprehensiveGrab27, titled, "Am I the a-hole for cutting my child's inheritance?" This is a throwaway account. Now backstory. 2 years ago, I, 46 female, lost my husband in an accident and I was heartbroken. We had 3 children and I thought we were very happy until his mistress showed up at my door demanding money to support the child my husband fathered. I didn't believe her, but she was able to prove it with screenshots, messages, etc. The image that I had of my husband was forever tainted and he left me with the mess. Because of bitterness about the betrayal and how offended I was by the mistress's lack of remorse and entitlement, I told her that she wasn't getting a dime and that she shouldn't have slept with a married man. She kept harassing me, and when it wasn't going to work, she went to my husband's family to put pressure on me to give her what she wanted. She even tried to involve my children, leveraging her silence for money. I knew that once I gave her money, she would come back, so I told them myself. My husband and I had high-paying jobs, lucrative investments, savings, and I got a sizable amount from the life insurance policy. I consulted a lawyer, and while she could prove the affair, it didn't prove paternity, and since my husband wasn't on the birth certificate, nor could she produce that my husband acknowledged the child, she had no case. After my lawyers sent her a strongly worded letter, I didn't hear from her for a while, and thought it was over, until my oldest, Alex, 19 female, came to me and said that she did a DNA test with a mistress behind my back. She said that she did it because she wanted to get this resolved. The child deserved to know who their father was and get the financial support that they were owed. My husband had a will that stated each of his children would split an inheritance that they would only access for when they went to college, and couldn't get full control until the age of 25. When the results came back proving that my husband was indeed the father, the mistress took me to court. It was a long legal battle, but eventually a settlement was made. I sat Alex down and explained to her that her inheritance would be split 50-50 between them and her half-sibling as part of the settlement agreement. When she asked if my other children had to split theirs, I told Alex no. My husband's will stated that it had to be split, but it didn't say it had to be split equally. And until each of the children turned 25, I had full control. Alex was upset, saying that it wasn't fair. I countered, saying that it wasn't fair that my other 2 children had to get a lesser share because of my oldest's choices, and if they wanted their full share, they shouldn't have done the DNA test. There is still plenty of money for Alex to finish college. She just won't have much after that, and I do plan on dividing my own estate equally in my own will. All of this Alex knows, but they're still giving me the cold shoulder. My own siblings think that it wasn't fair, and I'm punishing Alex for doing right by her half-sibling, but I don't see it that way. Am I the a-hole? This is a hard situation, and with my lack of life experience here, I'm not sure that splitting Alex's share 50-50 was the right thing to do, but I guess you know the legal, game plan that's going on here, and it didn't see equally. So you could choose where the split happened, and, all is fair in love and legalities, I guess. To be fair, Alex could have kept her mouth shut, she could have controlled herself, and not willingly done that DNA test, and eventually the opposing party would have run themselves out of court, and that child would have gotten nothing. Or there could have potentially been a scenario where they did get a DNA test done, and the child gets an equal split, that's the same as everyone else is getting. I think I'm on OP's side for this one, and I think Alex jumped the gun, as you do when you're young. You make stupid decisions sometimes. So, not the a-hole OP. Update. Thank you to everyone's responses, even the ones calling me you're the a-hole. But based on a few frequent questions, comments, and/or themes, I feel like I need to clarify some things. 1. Alex is my daughter, not my son. When I first started writing this, I wanted to leave gender out of it in case it influenced people's judgments. But then I remembered that Reddit tends to prefer that age and gender get mentioned, so I added 19 female at the last minute. Hope that clears it up a little. 2. My other 2 children are Junior, 17 male, and Sam, 14 female. The half-sibling is now 5. 3. When my husband drafted the will 10 years ago, he initially named just our children. But a friend of ours had an oops baby, so he changed it to just be his children, in case we had another one. At least that's what he told me. 4. After the mistress threatened to tell my children, and I decided to tell them, I sat them all down and explained the situation. They were understandably devastated, and asked if they really had another sibling. I told them that I didn't know, and that if the mistress could prove it, she might get some money. I told them that if they wanted to know if they had a sibling or not, we could find out. But I made sure that they understood that their inheritance could be affected, and other people might come out claiming the same thing and get more money. Initially, all of my children said that they didn't want to have to deal with that, and so I did everything that I could to protect them. But I guess Alex had a change of heart. 5. Until the DNA test, I had no reason to believe that my husband's mistress was telling the truth and acted accordingly. I kept following my lawyer's advice, and if she wanted the money, the burden of proof was on her. And 6. While some of you might think that I'm the a-hole, please understand that my decision wasn't spiteful. If I really wanted to punish Alex, I would just tell them that they weren't getting any more money since they already used some of it for their first year of college, so the guidelines of the will were technically already met. I still plan on leaving them an equal share of inheritance from my estate too. Now, in the comments, Major Shane says, "First of all, I'm really sorry this happened to you. I wish you the best. I say not the a-hole. It's a messy situation, no doubt. Your husband's will said split between his kids, so split between them it should be. If Alex really cared about the child deserved to know who their father was and get the financial support that they were owed, then she should have no problem sharing her inheritance. Also, in my opinion, she should have minded her own business and not gone behind your back to make a messy situation worse in the first place. If I were Alex and I were doing this, it shouldn't come as a surprise that their inheritance would be reduced to share with this half-sibling. Not sure why Alex is pulling the whole surprised Pikachu face thing. Not the a-hole. Mostly because Alex was ready to be a knight in shining armor as long as it wasn't his armor. Your dead husband is the biggest a-hole. Sorry, had to say it. It's a difficult situation for everyone, and I think you were trying to do right by your children, and so was the mistress. And Alex was trying to do right by the half-sibling. This is where I'm at. Husband let down his widow and all his children. To punish Alex for dead husband's arsehole behavior seems misplaced, especially because it's not Alex's fault the dad had an affair and a secret child. It's possibly commendable and shows that OP raised such a compassionate and empathetic child that, regardless of circumstances, Alex was trying to do the right, ethical, moral thing, if maybe not the best decision legally or socially. I don't think OP is the a-hole necessarily, and needs to go out of her way to fix her husband's fuck-ups, but punishing Alex doesn't seem like a solution either. And Trilobite141 says, "Going against the grain here. You're the a-hole, and so was your husband and his mistress, but in this specific instance, it's you. That child is not their mother. Your daughter was right. They deserve to know who their father was. They were also entitled to support from the man who created them. You were only able to prevent them from getting it because they had no proof, not because it was the right thing to do. The very fact that the law gave them the right to inherit in the end is proof that you were in the wrong, and the long legal battle is your own fault for not doing the right thing in the first place. You denied an innocent child their rightful inheritance from their own father because you were hurt and angry about the actions of their parents. Your child set out to see things fairly done by their half-sibling, even knowing it would cost them something in the end. 1/4 is less than 1/3, of course. You vindictively cutting them down to 1/6 now, just because you technically can? The will says split, it doesn't say equally, nya, makes you an even bigger asshole. I am frankly amazed so many people think that you aren't. That man fathered 4 children. His estate should be split 4 ways. Stop using your anger at the older generation to punish the younger ones for wanting what's right. So what do you guys think of this one? I feel like it could be an obvious you're the a-hole, but it could also be a not the a-hole, depending on what your personal values are and how you view this situation. That last one kind of throws me into a tailspin a little bit there. I'm like, oh my god, you make some good points there. It did seem like a dickhead move to do, but, you know, the legal world is not the nicest, that's for sure. And this kid is genuinely owed this money, so yikes, dog, that's a big yikes. Anyway, on to the updates. OP says, "Thank you so much for so many responses, even the ones who didn't 100% agree with me, because it did give me perspective. I also wanted to give an update and answer some questions to anyone who was curious, so here it goes. Since I told Alex what would be happening, she told her siblings, and the house has been pretty tense. To try and make peace, I spoke to each of my kids for a one-on-one and as a group to figure out what to do next. I spoke to Alex first, and some interesting information was revealed that I'm very angry about. Apparently, the mistress created a fake account and manipulated my daughter into befriending her. After gaining my daughter's trust, she pretended that she was in a similar situation as her and said that the DNA test proved that there wasn't any paternity. When Alex went behind our backs, she thought that it would prove the mistress was trying to scam us. My son, Junior, 17 male, is furious that Alex went behind our backs and doesn't care why she did it, and blames her for them being stuck with a half-sibling he doesn't want. Ooh. My daughter Sam, 14 female, said she wishes she never knew the truth and is deeply upset. I asked my children that since they now know the truth, would they want a relationship with their half-sibling? Junior clearly wants nothing to do with the child and says that Alex should feel lucky he still considers her a sister. Sam says she doesn't want to, and I feel it's because she's in denial and wants to live life pretending that her father was perfect. Alex admits that she's curious but never wants to see or hear from the mistress ever again, so she doesn't think a meeting will ever be possible. I proposed family therapy, and while my girls are open to it, my son says that therapy is only for people who have something broken in them and that he's not broken. Is now happy that his father is dead and wants to change his last name as soon as he turns 18. I'm not going to force him, but I do hope he changes his mind one day. Edits. For clarification, because I keep seeing this, before I made my post, before I told Alex what was going to happen with her share of the trust, the settlement was already finalized, so there is no still cutting because it's already done. Technically, I could go back and renegotiate the terms of the settlement, but the mistress could try and come back for more money. Initially, she wanted the entire life insurance policy, 50% of the trust for just her child, and 50% of my husband's savings. Her argument was that since I was still working and had a high-paying job, my children and I didn't need the money, and she was a struggling single mother. I'm honestly getting exhausted with everything to deal with that woman anymore, and don't want to spend more on legal fees. Edit 2. I have not now, nor have I ever blamed Alex for her father cheating on me. That is ridiculous, and I don't know how people are coming to that conclusion, especially when I never said that it was her fault. And edit 3. I've come to the realization that some people believe that Alex is getting absolutely nothing, which isn't true. There's still plenty of money from the trust for her to finish college, she lives at home rent-free, I pay all of her bills, give her an allowance, allow her to use a car that's in my name, and she will get an equal share of my estate when I pass on. Well, I'm glad that this story ended, that's for sure. I'm glad it ended. Now I'm going to read some comments. Dart1126 says, "Wow, I missed the original post. Just read it also. It's so unfortunate that all of this has tainted for you all forever the memories of your husband and their father. What a difficult situation to be faced on top of his death, which you were all just likely feeling you have somewhat worked out what your new normal is. And now this. I'm sure your son is particularly misplacing his anger on Alex, however, I do believe she should have told you what she was doing. Even if, as she says now, she was trying to expose a scam, she should have suggested and disclosed that angle to you before submitting presumably her DNA for comparison. They may never want a relationship with this child, and that seems very normal and rational." And OP replies, "I really would have preferred Alex told me she changed her mind before doing the DNA test, because I probably could have saved myself money in legal fees. Would your husband have financially supported this kid? Voluntarily? I honestly don't know. You need to get your son into therapy because he needs it the most. Do family therapy or something, but all of that anger he's carrying inside of him is not healthy. I know, I'm very worried for him, but I don't know if I should wait for him to want to do it on his own or force it. At the very least, your son needs to be educated on the purpose of therapy and how much it can and will help him. It's not for broken people like he describes it. Mental health can be like car maintenance. If you don't do your regular maintenance, ignore the check engine light, and only go in once something is broken beyond functioning, the car isn't going to last you too long." And Sid the Horror Kid replies to the original post, "Personally, I wouldn't hand a single penny over to the mistress. What did she expect was going to happen when she knowingly messed with a married man? Her and your husband are the biggest a-holes of this story. I don't mean to be rude, but your daughter is an a-hole for going behind your back about it. I get that the mistress had a hand in it, but it still does not excuse the fact that she betrayed y'all's trust. I hope everything works out for you and your kiddos, OP." And OP says, "She was suing, and after the DNA test proved paternity, she was going to get something eventually. I could have fought her over this in court for years, but I was getting exhausted and just did the settlement to make her go away. Are you required to give the kid half of a third? I would figure 10% would be enough if the will didn't specify an even split, unless the judge ruled it had to be more. We settled out of court, and I gave the mistress a part of the life insurance policy and half of Alex's share in exchange that she can never sue the estate, me, or my children ever again." Alright, this episode is long enough already. I'll let you guys go with that one. There is so much more in the comments here, but my voice is starting to hurt, and I think we get the general gist of what's going on. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Tell me what you thought about this update in particular. That was a rough 18 minutes or more of story, but I'm glad we got through it together. As always, I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.